Okay, so good day to everyone. So welcome to my class in applied economics. So first, let me first introduce myself since na yung iba naman is di ako kilala ng iba. So I have to introduce first myself. I am teacher Arnel V. Bonsilao. So So, I graduated, hindi po yan. So, I graduated at Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges. So, kumuha po ako ng kursong BS Ed Mathematics. So, I know naman na kilala naman ako ng iba. And of course, since I am your teacher, so you know that I always have this policies in my class. So first, just listen carefully and focus. And of course, please do not blink your eyes if it is not necessary. Kapag kinakailangan mo namang i-blink yung eyes mo, so please naman, wag lang talaga, ha? Wag lang. Do not blink your eyes. Okay. So, once you stop learning, you start dying. It is according to Albert Einstein. Okay? So, yes. According to Albert Einstein. So, first, let us proceed to our topic, which is Introduction to Economics. So, first, before we proceed to our topic, before we tackle our topic, first, let us read our objectives. At the end of this lesson, the students should be able to first apply the concept of opportunity cost when evaluating options and making economic decisions. Make decisions based on how man can satisfy most of his wants given limited resources, and differentiate macroeconomics and microeconomics. So at the end of this lesson, or at the end of this presentation, you as my students, you will be able to do all of these objectives. Okay, everybody goes through a day faced with constraints or limitations. Motorists complain of high gasoline prices. So, marami tayong na-encounter na economic problems. Kaya nga, so just like yung mga motorista natin, nag-complain sila bakit daw yung gasoline, tumataas yung prices ng gasoline. Times when people suffer due to shortage of chicken in the market. So kahit yung mga chicken, yung mga supply ng chicken, nagkakaroon din ng mga shortage, or yung mga school supplies. Okay, so napakarami yung mga, kasi nga there are a lot of things na limited, 'di ba? Okay, this in effect is the existence of what we call scarcity. Okay, take note of the word scarcity. That is insufficiency of resources to meet the wants of consumers, and is insufficiency of the resources for producers that hamper enough production of goods and services. Scarcity is the reason why people have to practice economics. So, ano ba itong scarcity? Kaya, okay, first, economics as a study is the social science that involves the use of scarce resources to satisfy unlimited wants. Part of human behavior is the tendency of man to want to have as many goods and services as he can. However, his ability to buy goods and services is limited by his income and purchasing power. So, as I said a while ago, there are a lot of things na limited, 'di ba? So, since that there is scarcity or yung kakulangan, 'di ba? That's why we are going to study about this economics because of scarcity or yung kakulangan. Scarcity is a condition where there are insufficient resources to satisfy all the needs and wants of a population. Scarcity may be relative or absolute. Okay, scarcity is yung kakulangan. Kumbaga yung yun nga, kakulangan. And scarcity may be relative or absolute. There are two types of scarcity, which is relative scarcity or absolute scarcity. Okay, this is ito yung scarcity nga. Just like for example, kakulangan sa tubig, kakulangan sa mga damit, kakulangan sa pagkain, okay? That is an example of scarcity. Okay, relative scarcity is when a good is scarce compared to its demand. For example, coconuts are abundant in the Philippines since the plant easily grows in our soil and climate. However, coconuts become scarce when the supply is not sufficient to meet the needs of people. Relative scarcity occurs not because the good is scarce first and is difficult to obtain, but because of the circumstances that surround the ability of the good. Okay, so yung kakulangan ng coconut it is not about na kulang talaga yung supply ng supply ng coconut. Kasi nga we are abundant in the Philippines since na yung coconut is mas madali siyang nag-grow in our soil and climate. But it is relative scarcity if kinulang sa supply yung coconut because of napakarami yung taong nangangailangan ng coconut, 'di ba? So coconut is essential. Kasi nga yung coconut pwede natin gawing oil. Napakaraming gamit yung coconut. That's why nagiging relative scarcity. It is not because na wala tayong coconut dito sa Philippines or kulang yung coconut natin dito sa Philippines, but because napakadami yung mga taong nangangailangan ng coconut, and that is why nagiging kulang yung yung coconut. Okay, another. Bananas are abundant in the Philippines. Napakarami nating mga company which is produces bananas and are being ground in a lot of regions around the country. But when a typhoon destroys banana plants and the farmer has no bananas to harvest, then bananas become relatively scarce. Okay, so napakarami nating mga banana dito. We are abundant also here in the Philippines. But nagiging relative scarcity yung banana, it is because of the typhoon. Since na yung mga farm ng bananas, yung mga taniman ng mga bananas is na-damage ng typhoon. That's why napakadaming mga tao na kumbaga hindi na-supplyan ng mga bananas. Napakaraming kasi nga kinakailangan din natin yung banana. As fruits, as yung pagkain natin, di ba? That's why it is considered as relative scarcity since, okay, nakalagay dito, it is because of the circumstances that surround the availability of the good. Okay, that's another example is that yung typhoon. Kasi nga, kung hindi dahil sa typhoon, napakadaming napuproduce na banana dito sa country natin. Okay. it is considered as relative scarcity. Okay, next. Absolute scarcity is when supply is limited. Oil is absolutely scarce in the country since we have no oil wells from which we can source our petroleum needs. So we rely heavily on imports from oil producing countries like Iran and other Middle Eastern countries. Okay, absolute scarcity is yung talagang kulang sa atin. Just like oil. Kasi nga wala tayong mga oil wells or yung nagagawa ng mga oil dito sa ating country. That's why we are having, kumukuha tayo sa ibang country. Just like Iran or other Middle East na nasa Middle East na countries. Kasi nga doon sa kanila napakarami. Or other countries are abundant in oils na hindi kagaya sa atin na kulang talaga yung oil natin kasi nga wala tayong mga oil wells. Okay, so difference between the two scarcity is yung relative scarcity is meron naman tayo kaso maraming mga kumbaga hadlang sa paligid, just like sa bananas. Okay, the typhoon, na damage ng typhoon yung bananas. Instead na meron naman talaga tayong bananas, abundant naman tayo ng bananas dito sa ating country. But absolute scarcity is yung kulang talaga or wala talaga tayo dito sa country natin. Okay, choice and decision making. Because of presence of scarcity, there is a need for men to make decisions in choosing how to maximize the use of the scarce resources to satisfy as many wants as possible. A homemaker who has a monthly budget. Okay, wait. Okay. A homemaker who has a monthly budget needs to decide on how to utilize it to pay the rent, to buy food, to pay the children's tuition fees, and to buy new clothes and shoes. If the budget is not enough, then the homemaker has to give up some of these things. She needs to make a choice. If she decides not to buy new shoes for her children at the start of the school year, then this is the choice that she gave up. Okay, so this is the choice she gave up. Okay. Kasi nga scarcity is everywhere. Kasi nga kahit nga yung mga may kaya is that minsan is kinukulang pa rin sila. Okay. So kapag yung budget natin is not enough to buy our needs or our wants, so you have to make a decision and you have to you have to give up something. Just like for example, pupunta ka ng isang activity or school activity na kung saan kailangan mo ng allowance. Okay. So, wala ka ng sapatos na gagamitin. Okay? So, meron kang pera which is ibibili mo sana ng sapatos, pero wala ka namang gagamiting allowance doon sa activity, sa school activity na pupuntahan mo. If you have you will use your money to buy the shoes, so hindi ka makakasama doon sa school activity. But if you gave up to buy to buy the shoes, so you will be able to go to the school activity. So you gave up na bilhin yung sapatos. That is an example of decision making. Okay, it is about giving up something. Okay, opportunity cost refers to the value of the best foregone alternative. When land is devoted exclusively to the cultivation of rice, we gave up an output of bananas or mangoes that we could have planted on that land area. Okay, alam naman natin na yung rice or yung palay is that exclusive lang talaga yan. Hindi siya pwedeng, like, just like for example, magtatanim ka ng rice or yung palay and sasabayan mo ng coconut or mais or yung corn or yung bananas. Okay? Hindi yan pwede kasi nga yung rice is usually talaga, exclusive talaga yan na rice. Kapag magtatanim ka ng rice, rice lang talaga. Okay, so if you are going to plant a rice, so you have to give up planting mangoes and bananas. Kasi nga yung mangoes and bananas, you can you can plant these fruits at the same time and at the same place. But since you are going to plant rice, you will have to give up planting bananas and mangoes. Okay, economic resources, also known as factors of production, are the resources used to produce goods and services. These resources are by nature limited and therefore command a payment that becomes the income of the excuse me, the resource owner. Okay, first, land, soil, and natural resources that are found in nature and are not man-made. Owners of lands receive a payment known as rent. Okay, so kapag magkakaroon ka ng isang business or business, gagawa ka ng you are going to produce goods. Okay, so if you don't have land or yung area na pagtataniman mo or pagtatayuan mo ng business mo, okay, you need a land, and since na wala ka nun, you have to rent a land. Okay, so yung may-ari ng lupa na yon is will going to have the payment since na nagre-rent ka ng lupa. So yung yung may-ari ng lupa is the yung siya yung tatanggap ng pera every month or every year. Okay. Labor, physical and human effort exerted in production. It covers manual workers like construction workers, machine operators. Okay, labors is yung effort ng tao, which is just like for example, yung sa mga construction. Okay, it is what we call labor because they are using their, kumbaga, physical strength yung ginagamit, and kumbaga tao yung nag-ooperate. Okay, that is what we call labor. Iba din yung labor sa panganganak, ha. Wala. Capital, man-made resources used in the production of goods and services, which include machineries and equipments. The owner of capital earns an income called interest. Okay, capital, kapag magpapatayo ka ng business or yung magpuproduce ka ng goods and services, you need capital, which is yung mga machines. Kailangan mo yung machines. Just like for example, kapag tailoring, you need machines and equipments, yung mga kagamitan. Okay. Macro and microeconomics. Okay, there are two branches of economics. These are macroeconomics and microeconomics. Macroeconomics is a division of economics that is concerned with the overall performance of the entire economy. Okay, so macroeconomics is concern of the overall performance of the entire economy. Just like for example, yung macroeconomics, okay, yung kalagayan ng economics sa buong country, sa buong city, okay? So, kumbaga macroeconomics is yung pangmalakihang pag-aaral, or just like for example, we are going to study about the entire economic problems of a country or a city. That is what we call macroeconomics. Kumbaga panglahatan siya or pangmalakihan. Unlike sa microeconomics, from the word itself, micro. Kumbaga we are it talks about yung kumbaga just like individual, okay? Paano? Unlike sa macroeconomics, we're going to study about the whole country, the whole city, paano? Which is magkaiba sa microeconomics. Just like microeconomics, we're going to study about him. We're going to study about this person. Paano? From the word itself, micro. Okay, basic economic problems of society. Okay, these are the problems that we encounter. Okay, what to produce and how much. Okay, so of course, what to produce. Okay, what to produce and how much. Okay, ano yung gagawin nating product? Since na kapag gagawa ka ng product, make sure na marami or meron talagang bibili ng ginawa mong product and gaano karami. Kasi kapag sobra naman ang dami and then yung nangangailangan ng products na yan is kakaunti lang, so hindi siya nagmamatch. You have to produce kung ano yung kinakailangan talaga, kung ano yung hinahanap ng mga tao or kinakailangan ng mga tao, or ano yung mga kung mga gusto ng mga tao. Alangan pa naman gagawa ka ng isang product na hindi kinakailangan ng mga tao. Okay? And you have to consider yung kung gaano karami yung gagawin mo. Okay? How to produce? Okay? Kung paano mo gagawin, you need you need equipments or kumbaga just like technology, kung paano mo siya gagawin, napakaraming way or yung paraan kung paano gagawin yung products, and you have to consider on how to produce. Okay, next, for whom to produce. Okay, so make sure na kung ano yung gagawin mong product is that naka-inline talaga kung sino talaga yung ginawa natin ng product. Just like for example, the young or old, the male or female market, the low income or the high income groups. Okay, para kanino mo gagawin yung mamahaling damit? Of course, kung sino yung nakaka-avail, yung mga malalaki yung income, di ba? Okay? Kung gagawa ka naman ng medyo cheap na damit, of course, yung makaka-avail, usually yung nakaka-avail is yung mga kakaunti lang yung income. Or kung gagawa ka ng pambabae, kasi nga, kung gagawa ka ng pambabae, siyempre, yung bibili yung mga babae lang talaga yung bibili. Okay? Aside na lang kung yung lalaki is bibili siya ng pambabae, iba na yun. Okay, para yun sa girlfriend niya. Okay, next, economic systems. The economic system is the means through which society determines the answers to the basic economic problems mentioned. A country may be under any of the following types or even combination of the three economic systems. Okay, traditional, command, and market economy. So let us proceed. Traditional economy. Decisions are based on tradition and practices upheld over the years and passed on from generation to generation. Okay, this method is that kumbaga sinasariwa natin yung mga paraan nung mga nakaraang paraan. Kumbaga methods are stagnant and therefore not progressive. Kumbaga just like for example dati, 'di ba, yung paraan natin na pagbebenta dati is that hindi po pera or just like kagaya ngayon, bibili ka ng damit, pera yung ibabayad mo. Unlike dati po sa traditional natin, sa tradition is that they are trading, kumbaga they are trading kumbaga damit na pinapalitan nila ng mga pagkain or manok, ganyan. So, it is an example of traditional economy. Okay, take note, traditional societies exist in primitive and backward civilization. Okay, methods are stagnant and therefore not progressive. Kumbaga, if this method or traditional economy, if you are going to use this method, kumbaga mahina yung progress or mas worst is hindi naga-progress yung economy if ito yung gagamiting method. Okay, next, command economy. Command economy is ito yung under government. Okay, sumusunod yung mga tao sa government. Next is market economy. Okay, this is the most democratic form of economic system. Ito yung kumbaga kung ano yung need or want ng mga tao, yun din yung isusupply or yun din yung product na gagawin or ibebenta mo. Just like for example sa market, usually talaga kailangan ng mga tao is that yung mga gulay, mga isda. Of course, that is why sa palengke maraming nagbebenta ng gulay, ng mga prutas or yung mga isda kasi nga essential sa mga tao yung mga gulay at saka prutas at saka yung mga isda. Kumbaga nagadepende kung ano yung mga gusto ng mga tao. Nag-refer sila sa mga tao. Unlike sa command economy which is they are under government. Yung mga tao yung sumusunod sa government. Okay. Asian icon. Okay, Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew. 1923 to 2015 is an economic icon and an example of how a leader of a previously undeveloped country can lead to overcome its country's basic economic problems and move toward economic growth. Okay. This guy, okay, take note of this guy kasi nga ito yung economic icon. Siguro ito yung taong to, napakadaming business na mga nagawa. Diba? Okay. He was the Prime Minister of Singapore from 1959 to 1990, making him the longest serving Prime Minister in history. During his long rule, Singapore became the most prosperous nation in South Asia. So, Lee resigned as Prime Minister in 1990 and his son became the Prime Minister in 2004. He died on March 23, 2015. Okay, take note of Lee Kuan Yew because he is an icon. Nakuha nyo. So, nung siya yung naging Prime Minister ng Singapore, yung Singapore became the most prosperous nation in Southeast Asia. So, naging maganda yung ekonomiya ng Southeast Asia. Or, nung Singapore, nung siya yung naging Prime Minister. Because of his knowledge about economy, diba? So, take note of Lee Kuan Yew. And he died on March 23, 2015. Okay. Okay, so that's it for our lesson. Okay, thank you for listening and God bless.